Welcome to our guide on understanding your baby's nutrition while breastfeeding. You know, being a new parent is a lot like being an intern. Long hours, constant worry, and this overwhelming sense that you have absolutely no idea what you're doing. If you're a new mom or just looking for a little reassurance, we'll walk you through some key signs that indicate your baby is getting the nourishment they need. So let's decode those adorable little grunts and sighs together, shall we? You know how in Grays we'd always say, "Don't wait for the crash cart"? Well, the same principle applies when it comes to feeding your little one. Just like in the hospital, where early intervention can make all the difference, recognizing early hunger cues can prevent a feeding crisis. Before that full-blown meltdown hits, your baby will give you subtle hints that they're ready to eat. These cues are like the early warning signs in a medical emergency. Think of them as those little warning bells going off in the OR. Ignoring them can lead to a more stressful situation for both you and your baby. You've got your rooting reflex, where they turn their head and open their mouth searching for your breast. This is one of the first signs that they're getting hungry. Then there's the classic lip smacking, sucking on their hands, or even bringing their little fists up to their mouth. These actions are their way of signaling that it's time to eat. It's like they're saying, "Hey mom, the dinner bell's ringing in here." These cues are their way of communicating their needs to you. And just like you wouldn't ignore a page from the chief, don't ignore these early hunger cues. Responding promptly can make feeding time much smoother. The sooner you latch your baby on, the smoother the feeding session will be. Early intervention can prevent a lot of stress and crying. Trust me, a well-fed baby is a happy baby, and a happy baby means a much more peaceful existence for everyone involved. Your baby will be more content and you'll feel more relaxed. Some might be super subtle with their cues, while others will be a little more demonstrative. Every baby is different, and learning their unique signals is key. Get to know your baby's unique feeding language. It'll make all the difference. Understanding these cues will help you respond more effectively and create a stronger bond with your baby. All right, mamas, let's talk Latch. And no, I'm not talking about the kind that involves tequila shots and bad decisions. We're diving into the world of breastfeeding latches. A good latch is the foundation of successful breastfeeding. It's the key to a smooth and enjoyable experience for both you and your baby. It ensures your baby is getting enough milk and prevents you from feeling like your nipples are about to fall off. Trust me, a good latch can make all the difference. Think of it like this. A good latch is like a well-placed incision. It needs to be just right. It should be precise, comfortable, and effective. You want to feel at ease while feeding your little one. You want your baby's mouth to cover a good portion of your areola, not just the nipple itself. This ensures they are getting enough milk. Their lips should be flanged out, kind of like a fish. And you shouldn't feel any pinching or pain. If it hurts, something's off. If you're struggling with latch, don't hesitate to call in the cavalry. A lactation consultant is your person. They are trained to help you. They're like the McDreamy of the breastfeeding world, ready to swoop in and save the day. They can provide tips and tricks to improve your latch. Remember, just like we wouldn't hesitate to consult with a specialist in the hospital, don't hesitate to reach out for help when it comes to breastfeeding. It's all about making the journey smoother for you and your baby. You know those satisfying gulps you hear when someone's absolutely starving and they finally get a bite of food? Yeah, that's what you're listening for when your baby is nursing. Those little ka or ah sounds are music to a breastfeeding mama's ears. They mean that milk is flowing and your baby is happily filling their tummy. It's like the sound of a well-functioning heart monitor, proof that things are working as they should. Now, in the beginning, those swallows might be pretty subtle. It's more like a soft clicking or fluttering sound. But as your milk supply increases and your baby gets the hang of things, those swallows will become more pronounced. Of course, there will be times when your baby is nursing for comfort rather than hunger. Breastfeeding isn't just about nourishment. It's also about bonding, comfort, and love. Okay, I know it's not the most glamorous part of parenting, but those diapers, they hold a wealth of information about your baby's health. They're like little windows into your baby's digestive system, giving you clues about their hydration and nutrition. And trust me, you'll become a pro at deciphering their every hue and consistency. From the color to the texture, each detail tells a story. In those first few weeks, you'll want to keep a close eye on how many wet and dirty diapers your little one is producing. This is crucial for monitoring their well-being. It's a simple but effective way to gauge if they're getting enough to eat. Each wet diaper is a sign that they're staying hydrated. Think of it as your baby's own personal fluid chart. Keeping track can help you notice any changes early on. You're aiming for at least 6 to 8 wet diapers a day, and their pee should be pale yellow or clear. This indicates proper hydration. As for those poopy diapers, well, let's just say they'll go through a few different phases in those early weeks. From meconium to transitional stools, each phase is normal. The key is to look for consistent output. Regular bowel movements are a good sign that your baby's digestive system is working well. If you notice a sudden decrease in wet diapers, or your baby's urine becomes dark and concentrated, it could be a sign that they're not getting enough fluids. Always consult your pediatrician if you have concerns. Chapter 5. Observe weight gain. Just like we track our patients' vitals, tracking your baby's weight gain is another important way to make sure they're thriving. Those regular checkups with your pediatrician aren't just about getting poked and prodded, though it might feel that way for your little one. They're a chance to make sure your baby is growing and developing at a healthy pace. Most newborns lose a little bit of weight in the first few days after birth, but they should be back to their birth weight by around 2 weeks old. From there, you'll want to see consistent weight gain. Your pediatrician will let you know what's considered normal for your baby's age and size. As long as your baby is following their own growth curve and your pediatrician isn't concerned, you're doing great. Remember, breastfeeding is a journey, not a race. Chapter 6. Contentment after feeding. There's nothing quite like the sight of a milk-drunk baby peacefully dozing off after a good feed. Their little tummies are full, their eyes are heavy with sleep, and they radiate pure contentment. A baby who's getting enough to eat will usually appear relaxed and content after a feeding. They might fall asleep at the breast or drift off shortly after. They'll also have periods of alertness and playfulness between feeds. If your baby seems fussy, agitated, or constantly searching for the breast, it could be a sign that they're not getting enough milk. But before you jump to any conclusions, remember that babies can be fussy for a whole host of reasons. Trust your instincts. Chapter 7. Trust your instincts and seek help. You know that feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when something's just not right with a patient? That gut instinct that tells you to dig a little deeper, to ask more questions, to trust your intuition? That same instinct applies to motherhood. No one knows your baby better than you. You're the expert on their cries, their cues, their little quirks, and if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Don't be afraid to speak up. If you're concerned about your baby's latch, their weight gain, or just have a general feeling that something's off, reach out to your pediatrician or a lactation consultant. They're there to support you, to answer your questions, and to help you navigate the beautiful, messy, and sometimes overwhelming world of breastfeeding. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Thank you for watching. By learning these signs and following your intuition, you can feel more confident that your baby is getting the nutrition they need. Remember, every baby is different and every breastfeeding journey is unique. So be kind to yourself, celebrate the small victories, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more helpful parenting insights.